Hey guys, it's Max from Closed In, this time representing Modou. For some context, we're competing in a hackathon called MEGATHON by Tag at this moment in Amsterdam. And basically what we're doing is building out the SaaS tool Modou, and my specific part in the whole hackathon is to run the go-to-market for Modou. So that's what I want to show you in this video, how we did it, what I've done, and yeah, let's dive right in. So first of all, what is Modou? A very quick overview. Basically, it's an AI sales colleague that sits on top of your current tech stack. And the main value prop is that if you're in B2B sales, we all know that you run into a lot of admin, and basically every minute that a sales rep is spending on something other than actually doing sales is a lost minute. And that's what Modou is trying to achieve, that the sales rep's time is optimized. Here you have the landing page, by the way, so you can see all the tools that it links to. But let's dive into the go-to-market part. So I'm going to run you through first top level what I've done, and then I'm going to go into the tools a bit more in detail one by one. So first of all, here we have the Miro board. That's a bit too much. Here we go. So first of all, the value prop of Modou, we just had that. Then I wanted to actually go to market. So that's what I think is really like a game changer, is that we're not staying in ideation, but we actually go to the market, receive real data, and actually start iterating from there over the coming weeks. So first of all, we need a list. List building is what I've done in Clay. So I targeted SaaS companies in the Netherlands with 11 to 50 employees, a very common range. Then this is where I think it gets interesting. For the hackathon, we have Cala, which supplied us with like a lot of data points, which is super interesting that we could use for running the outbound. So for example, data points that I wanted to use here is how many investors does a company have, what's the total amount of funding, and what's the background of the founder. And more on that later. Then we have some fit filters, some presumptions. So for example, more than 6 investors, it costs too much bureaucracy to onboard a new tool. More than 5 million in funding might be too big, under 1 million in funding might be too small. And then the founder background, the idea that we had there is that if we're looking for very technical founders, for example, who have a background in a bigger corporate like Google, Amazon, something like this, and then start their own SaaS company, they're probably very technical, but maybe on the sales side they can actually use some help. And that's why we think Modou is adding the most value to these people. Then we do some founder scoring and we get to some tiering. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 3 we don't reach out. I'm going to show you more on this in the list. Outreach to tier 1 and tier 2. So the initial data set had 2.3k companies, and from that we actually found 99 prospects to be fit. We decided to go with multi-channel. First of all, the email side, we push it to instantly run emails and get replies. The other track, of course, LinkedIn. We connected Leva, my teammates, LinkedIn profile to send out connection requests to all 99 people. We get a Slack notification whenever a request gets accepted. Then we send them a document, which is something we don't do over email because of deliverability issues. We don't send documents. On LinkedIn we can, due to the direct message. It's like just the normal chat function. And Sendco is interesting because it has open tracking. And if we have open tracking, we have intent data on the prospect, which is of course super interesting because we can then start actually nurturing them or calling them up if, for example, they open the document more than 5 times or more than 5 minutes. Okay, that's the top level overview. Most of the results are still pending, but we already have some initial results, which I'm going to show you. So first of all, let me take you into Clay. Here we have the list. Like I said, 2.3k companies. What I did is I connected the Cala API, so I can show you inside of Clay. Here's the Cala API. Let me move this around. So we're posting to the endpoint of the knowledge query, and then here we're looking for investors. And I won't show you the column for all of them because the setup is quite similar, but then you have an idea. We get the amount of investors, the funding amount in millions, the country location, which I thought was interesting. Here the previous job of the founder. So for example here Barclays, Google. Let's see, I think we had some, Uber in there as well. This is of course super interesting data like I mentioned before. And then what I also wanted to add, which I saw was a pretty unique data point, is do they have an award? Did they win an award? Because I thought that was nice to use in the messaging to send out. Then we have the tiering, tier 1, tier 2, and then at some point tier 3. So here you can see we have 72 tier 2 companies and tier 1 companies. And in those companies, we're finding decision makers. That's what I have in this table. We search for 3 people per company. That's normally in a range of 11 to 50 total employees. That's a very common number. We search for the decision makers, founder, owner, CEO, some exclusion criteria on the job titles that we don't want to reach out to, like HR, and we find these guys. Then what we do to actually achieve the outbound is enrich the LinkedIn profile and try to enrich the work email. We do that with the email waterfall inside of Clay, so we get good coverage on the emails. We verify the emails with Million Verifier, double verify with Bounceban, and we get the deliverability status. So can we actually do email outreach to this account? If we can, we push them to an instantly campaign, which you see here. One campaign for the companies who had an award won, because we want to use it in the messaging, but not all of them had an award, so some of them got pushed to a campaign where we don't mention the award. Let me now take you into instantly. This is where we have the 2 campaigns. So they're actually sending, and here I think it's important to mention, keep in mind, this campaign was launched yesterday night. Yesterday night was Saturday. It's normally a very bad time to send out emails. I would not recommend only send during weekdays and working hours, but because we're super time constrained, because we're only building for a weekend, we did want to actually start sending. So we can see that we sent out 56 emails right now, and we actually received the first reply. It was not interested, so it was a no thank you, but still the reply came in. So I hope over the coming week, especially as people get back to their work, we start receiving some more replies and some opportunities. Now let me actually show you the copy, how we did it with some variables, because I think that's pretty cool. So we're mentioning that we're at the hackathon in Amsterdam, and then basically what we're saying is this. I pulled some data on the company name and saw you raised funding from X number of investors, which made me think you'd be a great fit. So if we look at how that's gonna look, we see, I pulled some data on Barter and saw you raised 3 million in funding from investors, which made me think you'd be a great fit. Can I send you some more info and a personal login? That's basically the email outbound that we run. And we also mentioned that we already tried connecting on LinkedIn in the first sentence. Very basic copy. Then that's the email track. Then we also have the LinkedIn track. So let me see if this is in the screen. There we go. What we do there is we send out connection requests from Leva's account to all 99 prospects. Whenever a prospect accepts, we push that to a Slack channel, which I have right here. So here we have a Slack channel from Modou, and here we see all the connection requests that got accepted. And also here I want to point out that we started sending them out last night. So far, I counted them. We sent out 99 connection requests, have 16 accepts. So that means we have a connect rate of roughly 16% so far, and I expect that to go up. Whoever accepts the message or accepts the connection request receives a message. To those, we send out a document with SendCo, which I have right here, an example. So this is for CoolSet, and basically what we do here is, the cool part is we can send out documents. Like I said before, we don't do that over email because of deliverability issues. On LinkedIn we can. The documents are completely personalized, and we do that by scraping the HTML of the domains. So we have, for example, CoolSet here. We have the domain of CoolSet, and then we run a scraper on the HTML to know what they do, and we run a scraper on the CSS. And the CSS, for whoever doesn't know, is basically like the font, the colors, the sizing, basically like really front-end stuff and how it looks. And we try to imitate that in our document, so it's very much personalized to them. And we say like, okay, this is prepared for Konstantinos from CoolSet. We mentioned like some of the data points that we scraped before. And here we're trying to have like a bit of an interactive document where you can select like the amount of tools that you use, a little bit of the value prop of Modou, and what does it mean for your pipeline. So how many deals are going cold, how many hours are you chasing, and CRM admin, and that you can save on a weekly basis. Then we finalize it with a call to action, in this case booking a 15-minute call. So everybody who is accepting the request is getting a document like this personalized to them. That's roughly the full go-to-market as we composed it right now. I was pretty excited to build it. I'm pretty hyped to start seeing the results coming in, especially like on LinkedIn, already seeing 16 accepts. All those people are receiving messages. For those, we haven't received any replies yet, but I hope they will still come in today and over the coming days. But yeah, That's it for now, and this is how we brought Modou to market in 1 weekend. Okay, that's it guys. Bye bye.